Let's talk about how to pass Grant Thornton's video interview in 2024. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Ready English. If you've never met me before, I have been a career coach in the UK since 2013, helping top graduates and professionals get into some of the world's most difficult companies. And today I'm going to be breaking down the interview process for Grant Thornton, a world-leading professional services company driven by research from publicly available online sources. In this video, I'm going to give you some fast facts about Grant Thornton you can use in your interview answers taken from their annual report. I'm going to talk about the interview process and what you're going to expect. And then finally, I'm going to cover 7 of the most common questions that we came across that are likely to come up in Grant Thornton's video interview. Let's go. In the year ending 2023, Grant Thornton delivered revenues of £640 million. The firm therefore experienced a revenue growth of 5% based upon the previous trading year. In 2023, Grant Thornton invested £50 million in innovative technology within the company. Grant Thornton has 5,200 employees and in 2023 hired 700 new people, which represented a 15% increase in headcount. Grant Thornton maintains an 88% employee retention rate and the company delivers services to 45 of the FTSE 100 companies. And finally, based upon a survey of 2,000 businesses that it works with, it has a 90% client satisfaction score. So what can we expect from Grant Thornton's video interview? Well, it seems like they're, like a lot of the times, top 100 companies that they deal with, they use HireVue and you can expect 4 to 5 video interview questions delivered one way, though 1 or 2 people did say that they also had a small case study which was attached to this, which I would expect to be something similar that you might find at PwC, where you get a small 1 or 2 page case and then you have to deliver a 5-minute presentation based upon that case, which is generally based upon numeracy, attention to detail and problem solving skills. If you want to get better at solving case studies and learn my methodology for doing that, then make sure you check out one of the courses down in the link in the description below. So here's the 7 most common questions that we came across for Grant Thornton. I'm going to be really honest with you, it was pretty difficult to research stuff about Grant Thornton. I found that there wasn't a lot of information available online that I personally trusted and used. So I must admit, the first 3 questions are pretty likely. The last 4 questions are a lot less likely. And I like to be pretty upfront with you about the research that we do because I don't want to offer a promise that cannot be delivered. And what I would always say to people is that if you're struggling to prepare for interviews, make sure that you have stories prepared, which we call star stories, so that you can answer any of the questions that might come up, which are related to competency-based questions. So without further ado, let's get into it. Question number 1, why do you want to work for Grant Thornton? Now, almost every company asks this question, and I have given you 5, 7 or 8 key facts in a very simple way by downloading Grant Thornton's annual report, popping it into ChatGPT and just saying, please summarize this annual report. Now your facts should be unique and they should be specific to the company. Do not make the mistake of answering why Grant Thornton by talking about all the stuff that you like and why it's really good and it will be a great opportunity for you. That's not answering the question at all. It's like sometimes when you ask somebody, how are you? And then they talk for 12 minutes and they go, anyway, I gotta go now, bye. And you've just got this deep sense of dissatisfaction of life. And it's like, who is that guy, right? Picking out 5 facts tends to fit into around 2 minutes, which I find is a good benchmark to aim for. Most companies will give you about 2 minutes for your response times. So 5 facts is enough for you to talk about, elaborate on slightly, and if you want to level up on this question, then maybe find a fact that personally resonates with you and you can demonstrate why, to give it a little bit of a personal touch. Question number 2, why this role? Now, when somebody asks you why you want to do a job, the obvious answer is not because I do not have a job and I require money, please sir. The way to think about answering this question is to give them the knowledge that you understand the job that you're applying for. We've all done it. We've all applied for jobs that we've got absolutely no idea what we're doing, and then somebody calls us and say, hi, I'm calling to tell you about the job that you applied to. And like, oh, that's so interesting. Would you mind telling me what company that you're calling from? So Using the job description, make sure that you pick out what are the key skills and responsibilities in that job and deliver that back in your answer. Working as a tax graduate at Grant Thornton, I would expect it to do blah, blah, blah. And if you can't find a job description that is helpful from Grant Thornton, just find one from another professional services company. It's not a big deal. They're all pretty much doing the same thing. Shock, horror, yeah? So that's the first half of your answer, because the higher view algorithm is going to analyze your answer, look for the keywords that are contained within the job description. The more keywords that there are, the more likely they're going to go, hey, this guy seems pretty good. Then do the same thing, pick out 2 or 3 skills in the second minute of your answer and give some proof that you have those skills that are important to that job. Question number 3, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Now this is a tough question to answer if you try and list out loads of strengths and loads of weaknesses. If it was me being cute, I would give 2 strengths, 1 weakness. So the 2 strengths could be any of the skills that I've outlined. So most likely like numeracy, teamwork, leadership, ability to learn rapidly, to explain complex things in a simple fashion. You get the idea, and a little example. And the weakness is just a lesson that you've learned from something that you used to do badly. So for example, you might say, well, actually something that I've really improved upon and used to be a biggest weakness of mine was my timekeeping. At university, I was always known for being late. I was always running behind for turning up to meetings, until one day I went to go and see a professor of mine, and he said, if you're late, you disrespect me and you disrespect yourself. Don't be on time, be early. Leave so that you're 15 minutes early. So then what I would do is I would set my watch 15 minutes, I don't know, do you guys have watches anymore? I guess you have Apple Watches. Set your watch 15 minutes ahead of time so that you're always early. And that's something that you can use as a weakness. A weakness is just a lesson that you've learned, but don't try and list out loads and loads of strengths and loads of weaknesses. You'll run out of time. Question number 4, tell me about a time when you had a problem with a colleague. Now it might be if you've had no work experience, you haven't had a colleague, in which case it's just going to be somebody that you did some group work with. Now really importantly, use STAR, situation, task, action, result, and place the majority of the emphasis on the action that you took. So the situation is like, where were you and when was it? The task is like, right, in a quick, like 10-second summary, what were you doing? And the action is where you really outline the thing that had happened. So here's a couple of, kind of quick tips when you're doing STAR. Say when it was, what year was it, where were you? Do name the people involved. Dude, you don't have to give their full name. You don't have to name and shame them. But instead of going, my colleague, my friend, my team member, do you know the amount of times I've heard people's answers like, then my team member said to my other team member who said to my colleague, and I'm like, dude, who are you talking about? Who are these people? Give them fake names, but give them like something that I can relate to. Outline the problem. What was the problem? Why was it significant? More than likely, if it's related to uni, it's like the person wasn't turning up, the person wasn't doing their work, they were being late, or they were just being a bit of a douchebag, right? So then how do you address that? Generally, we address that with one-to-one comms. We communicate with that person individually, away from the group, and say, hey Steve, I noted that you haven't been to our last 2 group sessions. I just wanted to check in and see if everything was okay. Steve writes back and he's like, do you know what? I'm having a really difficult time. I'm really stressed. I've got these 3 other modules that are due to be handed in. I really don't know what to do. And you say, dude, that's all right. Do you want to meet up for a coffee and I'll see how I can help you? And that way you get the problem resolved. Question number 5, tell me about a time when you needed to make an important decision quickly. I love this question. It was kind of uncommon because it's not something that I come across a lot of times, and I've seen thousands of interview questions, but it's a bit of a strength-based question for me, right? So the important thing about making a decision is, do I have all of the information that I need in order to make the best decision? Who are the people involved in me making decision? And also what is the risk related to this decision? So say for example, you're like, oh my God, I didn't know whether to get McDonald's or Burger King. There's not a lot of risk involved in that, right? You may have a slightly poor experience, but if it's like, I had to choose which university I went to, and the difference was between going to Aberdeen, Carlisle, or Manchester Metropolitan. Well, that's quite a big deal. There are quite big consequences which are related to that. So just breaking down your thought process and the points of data which are involved. Generally, when people make a decision, there are sort of 2, 3, or 4 points of data, right? Which is, do I like this? Do I know about it? What do I think is the upside and what's the downside? Those are sort of quick thoughts, and then outlining your thought process when delivering your answer. Question number 6, what do you know about how an audit is carried out? Now, this is a question that I find is uncommon and unlikely, but perfectly possible, particularly in a final interview. Seems much less likely in a first round interview, but it does speak to a little bit of commercial awareness and also technical knowledge. I can remember years ago, I had a young woman, she got through to the final round of a Big Four professional services firm, and she basically got asked, what is audit? How do we do an audit? And she completely freaked out because in all of her preparation, and she didn't come from an accounting and finance background, she didn't actually know what audit was, and funnily enough, she failed the interview. Something that I highly recommend that you do, say for example, if we zoom out here a little bit, if you're applying for accounting and finance roles, just do a little bit of due diligence. Understand what is it that you're going to be doing. Bearing in mind with this question, and a lot of people will overcomplicate this and be like, oh my God, I need to go and learn the basics of accounting and finance and what audit is. It's all going to be in the job description. They're basically going to talk to you about what you're doing, which is you visit a client's office, you carry out a series of checks on their accounts, on random documents, and follow the direction given by your supervisor and somebody who is ACA qualified in order to check that their accounts are a true and fair reflection of what is being presented to the public. I don't really know anything about audit, but I have read enough job descriptions, and that's simply where you would find that from. So make sure that you have the job description to hand when you're doing an interview. Question number 7, when did you overcome a challenging situation? Now, I like this question, and I caveat this by saying, please make sure it is a genuinely challenging situation. That is something where you had to go through a significant level of difficulty for you personally. Now, the common ones that I've come across are people who have left their home country to travel somewhere else, overcome illness, disappointment, death, a difficult situation. And in my experience, the more authentic you can be, the more real you can be, the more that you can reveal about yourself, the more believable and better your answer is going to be, rather than trying to contrive some situation which you think is going to sound good. Guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I wish you the very best of luck with your interview. Please, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, drop me a comment down below to let me know what brought you here or when your interview is, and do let me know if you get the job. Bye.